providing water. Why is it called that? It goes back to the history of Hajj. Today, Muslims, when they go for Hajj, you go to Mina, that valley, that area you're supposed to stay in. There's tents, there's air condition, there's water, there are shops. You can, there's no difficulty basically. But if one looks back into history, you will come to realize that Hajj was not always that easy. It was difficult. So when the Hujjaj came in great numbers, hundreds of thousands, sometimes millions of Muslims back in those days coming, and they were expected to stay in Mina, which was a valley, and Mecca has always been, up until recently, has always been a simple place. A place that did not have a lot of inhabitants and a lot of wealth. There used to be traders and so on, but Mecca was not known to be an extremely wealthy place. So what used to happen back in those days is when the Hujjaj on the 8th day, when they go out to Mina, the people of Mecca would bring water out to Mina. They would bring water on camels, on horses, whatever they could find, and they would bring all that water to Mina, and that water would be used by the Hujjaj for their needs and so on. So this is one of the reasons that the scholars in Islam have said that this particular day, the 8th of the Hijjah, is known as Yom Tarwiyah. So the people of Mecca bring the water to Mina to take care of the Hujjaj. And when you make your way to Mina, you settle down. Today you'll settle down in a hotel, in a tent, right? So this tent becomes your place, your home for the coming few days. And what you're expected to do, what is prescribed for you to do is, as soon as you reach Mina, you start by praying your salah, whether it's dhuhr or asr, depending on the time that you reach. Whatever salah you're about to pray, you shorten your salah. Okay, you shorten your salah. Instead of praying dhuhr 4, you pray 2 rak'ahs. But you do not combine them. So you pray every salah at its time, but you shorten the prayers. Okay? So this is the first day. And that first day, there's not a lot of actions that happen. There's not a lot of things that happen. It is basically all the Hujjaj, they try to make their move to Mina. Now, the following day, the 9th of the Hijjah, it is known as the day of Arafah, Yom Arafah. Okay? The day of Arafah, the Hujjaj, they wake up early in the morning in Mina, and then they pray their Fajr Salah. Once they finish praying Fajr, they sit down and they are encouraged to spend their time in worship, in dhikr, in remembering Allah until Tulu' al-Shams, until the sun has risen. And once that happens, then the Hujjaj start moving. Okay, so you move from Mina and you head towards Arafah. Okay, the plains of Arafah. It is called Arafah and it's called Arafat. And this is a bit of a distance from Mina. Not too long. Up until this day, there are still people that walk it. Okay, they walk from Mina all the way to Arafah. It takes some time. It is not easy. There's a lot of people, and there's the heat is very intense, especially when Hajj is in the summer. The heat is very intense. But sometimes you'll actually come to realize that walking will get you to places during Hajj much faster than getting on a bus. because there's so many people, millions of people, all, many of them driving, and a lot of them, going on buses and so on. So you'll find that getting around in Mina or in Mecca, it becomes very difficult. So you make your way to Arafah, you come to a place that is known as Masjid al-Namira. You should try your best to make it there for Dhuhr Salah. But the Prophet ﷺ, he said that anywhere that is classed as being Arafah is a mawqif, it is a place that a person can stand. So I know a lot of us, we see sometimes the mountain that is known as the Mountain of Mercy, Jabal al-Rahmah, right? When the Muslims, you see them climbing that small mountain, that hill, and they make the dua. The scholars in Islam have said it is not a must for a person to climb, that hill. You don't have to do that. As long as you stay within the boundaries of Arafat, and Arafat is a huge place, it's very big. As long as you stay within those boundaries, then your Hajj is correct. Inshallah, it will be accepted. So what is important is that you make your way there before sunset. You have to have spent some time within the boundaries of Arafat. And this is one of the pillars of Hajj. If a person does not stand in Arafah, even if it's for a few minutes, then the Hajj is not acceptable. The Hajj is not acceptable. So you have to make your way to Arafah. And once you reach Arafah, you pray your Dhuhr and Asr. You shorten the prayers and you combine them. You shorten the prayers and you combine them. This is a bit different from what you did in Mina, because in Mina, remember, you just shortened the prayers, but you did not combine the prayers. Now you shorten and you combine. So you pray Dhuhr and Asr at a time of Dhuhr. This means that you have time from Dhuhr until the time of Maghrib. And throughout that time, what a Muslim needs to be doing, especially if you're there for this noble ritual, it is to spend as much time as possible in dua, in dhikr, in worship in general. Okay? So remember just a few minutes ago when I said that standing on the plains of Arafah is a requirement for a person's Hajj to be accepted. Now I remember this must have been a few years ago when I had the opportunity to go for Hajj myself. And I remember I was talking to one of the Saudi police officers that were there, and there's a lot of police presence and first aid helpers and people, ambulances and all this stuff that people that help. So I was speaking to one of them. We had a very short conversation, and he said, we just came from the Haram, Mecca. We just came from Mecca, and we saw a few Hajjis, okay, people that came for Hajj. And they were doing tawaf, and they were just sitting in close to the Kaaba, right? And whilst all the Hujjaj are out in Arafah, the Kaaba is sort of empty. It's not as many people because all the Hujjaj are at Arafah. So they said, we saw these individuals, they were sitting there, and we asked them, we said, why are you not at Arafah? You're supposed to be at Arafah. Then they said, we don't know, like we thought coming here that this is the Hajj, that you just sit here at the Kaaba. So once the people there realized that what they were doing was wrong, or at the very least that their Hajj was in danger, they took these people as soon as they could all the way to Arafah. Okay? And this is, like I said, Arafah is the Prophet ﷺ, he put so much emphasis on Arafah to such an extent that there's an authentic hadith from the Prophet ﷺ. He said, Al-Hajj Arafah, Al-Hajj Arafah, that the entire Hajj is Arafah. That's how important Arafah, standing on Arafah is. So a person makes their way to Arafah, and you stand there and you make dua, you spend your time in worship, and by the time the sun goes down for Maghrib, then you make your move. Then you make your move as a Hajj, and you leave Arafah and you head towards another place known as Muzdalifah. And Muzdalifah is not that far away from Arafah. And the verses where Allah Azza wa Jalla says in Surah Al-Baqarah, ثُمَّ أَفِيقُوا مِنْ حَيْثُ أَفَاضَ النَّاسُ. These verses in Baqarah are concerning this part of the Hajj, meaning that Allah Azza wa Jalla is telling the Muslims that once Arafah is done and completed, a Muslim is prescribed, what is prescribed for a Muslim then is to make their way from Arafah to Muzdalifah. So now, after making your way to Muzdalifah, you've reached Muzdalifah, and it's still the 9th day or night. It is the 10th night. Okay, so you made your way there, and as soon as you come there, you pray Maghrib and Isha. Okay, you pray your Maghrib and Isha at Muzdalifah. You don't pray it at Arafah. You make your way and you reach there. Usually by Isha you reach Muzdalifah, and then you pray your Maghrib and Isha. You combine them together. And then you sleep in Muzdalifah. And this is another important point, that a Muslim, if you want your Hajj to be the way that the Prophet ﷺ did it, you have to sleep in Muzdalifah. And Muzdalifah is a little bit different from Mina. Mina has tents, and it is a much more comfortable experience, whereas Muzdalifah is just open sky. Okay, so